Hey everybody, I finally made it. I know I was supposed to do this podcast a couple of days ago, but I was having technical difficulties. My computer decided it wanted to reboot for 2 days. So that was super fun, which is kind of ironic because I work with like computers all the time. Um, I'm Valerie Cameron, if you didn't know, but I'm sure most of you know. I'm seeing right now that some of you are on YouTube. So, hey, you might be new watching this, and some of you are on the social medias. So, go ahead and feel free to comment. Also, I will go ahead and put in the comments my email because I did have a couple of people send questions via email because they didn't want to see other people asking them questions. So I'm going to put it in the comments section right now. And as you can see, if you are maybe you know what the inside of a hotel looks like, I am not at home. I just landed in Portland. And when I originally rescheduled this, I have been going to the East Coast a lot lately. So I'm thinking, oh, yeah, I can leave at the same time because I'm going to the East Coast. I'll be ahead of it. No, I'm in Portland. So I'm behind. So I'm a little late, but I'm here. The next couple of episodes that I'm going to do for Seemingly Appropriate Podcast, and also I am Val Cameron, I'm going to talk about a lot of things. There are so many things to talk about. And I've just had a lot of people asking me lately about travel. A lot of people want to hear about Burning Man. A lot of people have been asking me about how my mental illness is going. And so I thought that I would just talk about it. A lot of you know, if you've heard my podcast before, if you follow me on social media, that it helps me to talk about things that are bothering me. And I love to get the feedback about like other people that are going through the same thing, or people give me ideas on how to get through different things, and I try and pass those off to you. So just feel free to ask me anything tonight. I, for a long time, was a closed book. And over the last 5 years, I've been opening up more and more with the different changes going on in my life. And so I thought it would be fun to answer any questions over the next 3 episodes. And then I'm going to really try to stay on top of episodes. I've been really, I'm just going to say, put off about doing my own podcast over the last year. And I think that's the right terminology because my brain hasn't been in the right place. And I don't know quite how to explain it. I don't want to say lazy because I really have wanted to. And I have set a lot of things up and I'm like, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about that. And then the day will come and my brain will give me every reason to not do it. And I have not been able to deal with like pushing back on that side of myself. So I don't know if anybody has gone through that. And I also want to say I'm not only in Portland, but when I checked into my hotel, there is no internet service here. Somebody cut their fiber lines. So I'm running off of my phone's hotspot, which is not ideal when you do a podcast. So I hope if I'm in and out, somebody tells me so that I'm not just talking to myself. I see that you're there. And I have some people that have been dealing with some of the same things I have, and some other things that you might be dealing with that are going to pop on and off in the podcasts over the next couple of series. I guess you would call it a series of podcasts. But I kind of want to jump in to one of the, oh, thank you. Peter is here. And he says, very relatable. Thank you. I haven't started talking about anything yet. So I hope it's relatable. And I really do just want to have a conversation with you. I have not been home very much lately. And that's because over the past year and a half, my job has changed dramatically. So Before February of last year, I had a radio show for almost 8 years, where I was on the radio every weekday morning, on the weekends, out in public all the time. Um, and when I first got into this side of radio, of being a personality, um, I was super excited about it. I never thought I would be on that side of the mic. I have hosted a lot of things, I've emceed events, I've been in radio for a long time, but I just didn't ever see that. And when I had the opportunity to be on a show, I thought, what the heck, like, let's try it. And one of the things that happened that I didn't think was going to be a big deal is the usage of my name. And just over the past, I would say, 6 months, have I realized that it is very important to me. So before I became Val and Mike in the morning on B98.7, the only people that called me Val were my very close friends or family. And now Val was given to everyone. And it was, well, Valerie, we want everyone to feel like they're your close friend. So you're going to be Val for everyone. And at the time, I was just so excited to have a show, and I didn't think about the repercussions of this. But then you don't know how to recognize, or at least I didn't know how to recognize who was in my life for the right reasons, because that's kind of how I knew. Like, if somebody said Valerie to me in a store or at a doctor's office or, out an event, then I knew they weren't close to me. They didn't know me. And now for the last 8 years, everyone has called me Val. And it's kind of become a trigger. And I don't want to throw that word around lightly, because I know over the past 3 years on social media and regular media, just people in general are throwing the word triggered around, whether it really means triggered or not. But I have realized that it is triggering me. So I just haven't known how to tell people that I want them to call me Valerie instead of Val, because I don't want to seem silly. It probably sounds super silly, and tell me if it sounds silly or not. I mean, I'm going with it whether anybody thinks it's silly. And then who do I decide in my circle of people that I really want them to call me Valerie? I work for a company now, and most people call me Val, and they don't know me from radio. They don't know me from nerd events in Utah. They don't know me from TV. They know me from this work life. But it was still important for me to ask some of them to call me Valerie, because I felt like if they listened to me, then they see me, and then I can be me. Because Val, I don't think I am Val anymore. And that's been kind of hard to figure out. And I'm sure that a lot of people deal with this in their workspace, regardless of what your job is. You don't necessarily have to be on radio or TV to be going through a situation like this, where you have to be more than one kind of person at any given time. So that's one of the things I've been dealing with. I'm going to jump into Burning Man, because I know a lot of people have been curious about that. But before that, I kind of want to jump to a question that I'm going to read that was emailed to me that deals with a lot of what I'm talking about and Burning Man in general. So I got an email, and this has been an echoed question for me over the past 6 months, because I am traveling a lot. And it's, hey, Val, I wanted to know how your marriage is doing with all of the traveling. And I want to answer with a lot of pride and know how that my marriage is doing just fine. I am coming up on my 2-year anniversary to be married to my Dave. And he has been super supportive about that. And I do want to jump really quick, because I saw this. I'm going to bring it up here. David Clark says he doesn't like being called Dave. And I've known you, David, for so long, and I didn't know that about you. So I will not call you Dave anymore. I will call you David. And I'm so glad that you told me. That's really important. So thank you for sharing that. But yeah, so my marriage is going great. We talk all the time. We communicate about, what we're doing, where we're going. But the cool thing is when I'm in town, we spend so much quality time together. And I've been looking at other people's relationships, and I see people that are going to a regular traditional 9 to 5 job, and they've got kids and they've got pets and they've got in-laws and parents and all of this stuff, and like meetings and extracurriculars. And I'm just wondering, like, how do they do it? Is their marriage okay? And I thought about my prior marriage, and I don't think, and I'm just going to say, I know that there is not a specific way to be married anymore. I think that people have in their minds for a long time, at least when I got married to my first husband a long time ago, that there's this traditional way of getting married, and you know a person and you fall in love with that person and you date them for a little while, and then you get married, and then you have kids, and then you put up with things, and then you stay together because that's what people do, and you give up the things that you enjoy, and you don't grow as a person or as a couple. And I know that's not the same way it is for everyone, but I've seen that happen a lot. And so for me, a traditional marriage did not work. So why would I try and do the same thing over again? So when I lost my job in radio, I tried to get back into radio again. I got offered a job at iHeart as a promotions director, and I hadn't been a promotions director in 8 years since before I got on the air. And they were an amazing company, an amazing crew of people. And I asked for all these things, and they gave me all these things, and they supported me. And after 2 months of doing the job, I just knew that that wasn't me anymore. I also knew that mentally I could not do that job. I could have tried real hard, and I could have put my head down and just sucked it up, and I would have messed up a lot, because that's just not where I'm at. And so I went and asked somebody that this is like what they do, and they are such a good promotions director. And I just said, hey, I'm going to be leaving. Do you want to go for this job? Because I think it is perfect for you. And I went to my then boss at the time, and I said, I found this person, and I think this is a way better fit than for me, because I don't want to leave a place leaving a problem, right? I don't want to be a problem. I don't want to leave problems. And that was really hard, because it was really good money. It was benefits. It was paid vacation days. It was everything that you're told when you're younger, that you want to get to this height. You want to have all of these things. You want to have the 401k. You want to have a 9 to 5. You want to have this and that. And it was the American dream for me 10 years ago, not the me a year and a half ago, not the me right now. And then I had an opportunity to come and work for the company that I'm at. I'm an independent contractor. So all of those things that are shiny and bright that you're told that you should have, and all those securities are not with me. And I love what I'm doing. I love that I get to choose the jobs that I'm working, and that I get to travel all the time. And because of what I am dealing with mentally, it has been absolutely fantastic for me to leave Utah and to go somewhere else where nobody knows me, and show up and work hard and introduce myself to people and try and figure out who I am now. I do think that people are always genuinely the same person that they've always been, but we grow and we change. And so you add layers on that. And I've had to kind of mourn this person that I built up for almost 20 years. I'm 44. And say, I put in all this hard work to be this person and to be where I ended up, but I have to now say goodbye to that person. And that is, like, I'm going to get emotional, but that's like really hard to do. I don't know if anybody has had to do that or has noticed it, that you're just not that person, and that it's okay, but it's hard to say you're not. And then you have to realize that everyone that you have put around you knows you as this person. They know you, they knew me as Val from Radio Disney, a mom, a wife to this person I'm not a wife to anymore, the person that threw all the parties, that put together all the events, then the person that's on TV, then the person that's on radio, then the person that's back on TV. I hosted 100 to 300 events a year, depending on the year. And I was, out at every meet and greet and every schmooze and every event. Like, I was there, and I'm not at any of those places anymore, because I'm just trying to figure out like who I need to be when I show up there, and I need to be secure with that person, whoever that person is. So when I travel, it's actually been super healing for me, because I get to step away from all of these things. So to answer the question, that was really long. My marriage is doing fine. And because of these things and because of how I feel, Dave has been super supportive of this journey of mine. And it's really, really cool to have a person that is in your life that sees all the things that are wrong with you. I'm sure he hasn't seen all of them yet. But the majority of the things that you're dealing with, I don't want to say wrong with me, but dealing with, and they talk you through it, and they support you, and it's great. Like, I'm very grateful for that. Now, deciding to go to Burning Man was, I think, just a fun decision. I have always been like, let's walk through this door. Whether it was Valerie at 5 or Valerie today, if you showed me an adventure or a door to open or push down or peek through, like, that's always been me. And the fact that I have a job that they'll pay me to go do these things and have these experiences is super cool. So when Burning Man came up, I was like, yeah, let's just go. I'm going to be 44 this year. I've never gone to Burning Man. I've heard all of these different things, but I have no idea what Burning Man really is. And I had some people that I've been working with kind of trying to get me mentally ready. And everybody said, you're going to cry at least one day. Everybody does, because the company I work for, there's a 24-hour shift and we have to rotate in, and you have to room with people, so you never have like really space by yourself, is what they said. And of course you've got the weather and the elements, and you're there for so long. And so I was kind of getting myself ready to like have some emotional moments, also because 3 months before I found out I was going to Burning Man, I was told that I was bipolar, which I did do a short kind of video podcast that's on my YouTube page about how I felt about this. But it threw me for a loop that I had been misdiagnosed for all these years. And now I find out that I'm bipolar, so I'm dealing with that. I had a therapist say, you have no idea who you are, and you probably want to think about that. And then a week before I left to Burning Man, I was put on medication for bipolar. So I was like, this is either going to be really good or this is going to be really bad, depending on how this medication goes. And I just went saying, whatever happens, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to deal with it. I'm pretty strong, and I'm just excited for like to see what it's all about. And I ended up being just fine. Like, I had really good shifts. Our crew was amazing. I met so many phenomenal people. I also love getting dirty. I love camping. I love being outside. I love fishing, and I haven't done a lot of those things in a really long time. So being out and like getting dirty all day and being able to like wear my hardcore boots that I bought for Alaska, out there, and, just like riding a bike through sandstorms. Like, when do you get to do that? Like, I love post-apocalyptic clothing, and I have so much of that in my closet. And I mean, like, walking around Utah, if I put all of that garb on, especially now with like this whole thing going on, like people would look at me like, all right, what is happening? But there, you are just supposed to be your most authentic self. So I took all of that stuff, and I never once felt like people are looking at me strange. I don't have to explain myself. People want to know more about me. People are actually liking all of the things that in my current city would think is weird, and they'd want to check me for issues. But out there, it was, you are who you are. And you don't even you have to get a playa name. You can use your own name if you want, but they have playa names for everyone, and you have to earn it. You can't give yourself your own playa name. And what's so funny is when I first got there, it was the first day I got there on my 44th birthday, and we each get an assigned bike, and we get to decorate it. And so I go out on the playa for a bike ride with everyone, and then I come back, and at the top of one of the buildings that's right next to us, that people have to build by themselves, by the way, there's a deck, and there's all these people on top of this deck. And I go to stop, but the lock that's in my basket falls between my wheel, and I eat shit in front of everyone. Like, I just ate it. And so Tumbles became one of my first playa names. And I say one because it kind of changed off and on for the 16 days that I was there, 16 or 18. I don't remember. But it was kind of fun, like, to, deal with that. And then everybody just called me Tumbles the whole time. I didn't have to be Val or Valerie, except for two, like, my friends that were working there, the other staff. And I told some of them, like, I would prefer that you call me Valerie. And they did, like, no questions asked. It was just like, yeah, And so it was just really, really cool to be out there and to, like, really get to figure out who I am, who my authentic self is. And I'm still answering those questions, but I'm getting there. So, like, Burning Man was fun. One of my other questions that I got in an email, and I won't say names here, but I'm laughing at your question and you know who you are, is like, what is the craziest thing that you saw at Burning Man? And this is a tricky one because I didn't do a lot of the, what you would say, crazy things that a lot of people think Burning Man is. So Burning Man is this community that builds itself up for this certain amount of time. And then when it's over, the community breaks everything down and goes away. And I kind of watched this thing grow. Like, I got there before the event was opening, and people are setting things up, and it's just growing like this small town. And there's everything from, if you love D&D, you can go play D&D. If you love to fiddle with mechanics, there's a camp that's all about mechanics. If you are a furry, they had this huge furry, like, pavilion with, like, neon lights and everything. They had, if you're into some different extracurriculars, they have the orgy camp, and they have the orgy tent, and the orgy, van and bus and everything. And I didn't partake in those things. That's not what I was there for. But I'm not against anybody that wants to do those things. They also had bars everywhere. They had art stuff going on. They had food everywhere. I had a chocolate covered banana in the middle of the desert. I took shirts, and we rode around at night with lights on our bikes and went to a bar and spray painted shirts. Like, it was so much fun. So I don't know that there was, like, the craziest thing. For me, I loved it that everything I saw was so far out of what I would regularly be seeing or doing on a daily basis I didn't think it as crazy, and I don't really love that word. I was amazed by the things that I saw, by the art cars that people build and bring on. And people bring in they have to bring in the wood, the metal, the tents, the RVs, everything that they want. Then some of these camps are huge. These art installations that they bring in are huge and heavy, and they take weeks to build. People don't understand that some people are out at Burning Man at Black Rock for a month because they get there as soon as they can get in, and they start building these things until doors open for people to come in, and find their own camps and build their own camps and come experience it. And it's not a festival, it's not an event, it is a community experience. Uh, so I'm sorry, I don't really have an answer for you. Uh, I did see a lot of naked people riding bikes, which I knew I was going to see naked people, but when I see naked people riding bikes, all I can think is being uncomfortable. So that's the most uncomfortable thing I saw, because I was just like, I didn't have any issue with the nudity, but I was just like, that would hurt, like, to ride, because that's how you get around, is you ride bikes. Um, but yeah, there wasn't anything crazy, and there wasn't anything, people are in all different kinds of clothes. They're from all over the world. There's families, there's grandparents, there's, artists and singers, and like all these different sorts of people. And it really was cool to see these different little communities popping up in this town that I watched being built. I was telling some people it's kind of like The Last of Us, but without the killing. Because in The Last of Us, you have like people that need to build these communities out of something because everything has been, broken down or whatever. And you just see it. There's little things happening. And then everybody's like messaging me because of the flood. Before I got there was a bigger flood. All of our camps, I'm getting videos from everybody that I'm supposed to be working with, and they're sending videos of kayaks going down. There's floods up to their knees, and nobody's talking about that on social media because there weren't influencers there and there wasn't celebrities there, but it was way worse than the water that we got the week after I got there. So yeah, it rained. There's mud. It's harder to walk in mud. You can't ride a bike in mud, and you shouldn't drive a big, heavy vehicle in mud or you're going to get stuck. But it was not a national crisis. There was not an Ebola outbreak. It was not like this big thing that TikTok and the news made it be. We were fine. If you were in a tent, probably a little uncomfortable, muddy and cold, but people came together and they were like, hey, do you need food? We've got food over here. Do you need somewhere dry to sit and hang out? Come sit and hang out at our camp. People were giving people extra beds and tents to sleep in. And it was just very cool to see people helping perfect strangers. Like, it's everything you are told not to do when you're growing up. Don't take food or candy from strangers. You're totally doing that here. Don't talk to strangers. Totally doing that here. Don't take drinks from people that you don't know. You're totally doing that here. And it was really cool. I definitely think that everyone should do that, should experience Burning Man at least once in their life. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that I did it. I may or may not go back next year. The Anaheim D23 is happening around the same time. And I think if you know me and if I had to choose between Disney or anything else, I'm probably choosing Disney. But if I have the chance to do both, I'm totally going to do both. And it was really cool. Like, I knew it was going to be this experience, and I just had my heart, my mind open to everything that was going to happen. I wasn't closing anything off. I wasn't going in judgmental. I was just like, I just want to really experience this. And my husband knew what I've been going through mentally. And when I got to my hotel in Reno, there was this envelope in my suitcase that he had snuck in there, and with some instructions and some questions, and just saying, while you're out there, ask yourself these things and ask them a couple of times on a couple different days, and then like fill it out. And he left me a whole bunch of blank pages, and I've scribbled on it a little bit, but I haven't quite filled it all in yet because I'm still taking it in. I'm still digesting. And I think that might be one of the issues with me, is that I have to overthink everything and digest it instead of just say, this is what it is. But I've set myself up that way because I've worked in careers that you do need to calculate. And I'm not complaining about that at all. I have had some amazing jobs, and I've worked for amazing companies, and I've worked with some fantastic people. And a lot of people have done exactly what I do, and they're coping just fine. For some reason, it's messing with me a little bit now. So everybody has something going on, and everyone has something to get through and to overcome. And you just never know what someone is going through. And I know that's a cliche thing to say, but I believe it 100%. So that's the long answer for Burning Man. If you know me, you know I ramble. When I was in radio, Mike taught me about word economy, and I'm still pretty good about that. But this is my show, and I want to just let it all out. So I have 4 more questions that I was going to do for this podcast, but I would really love, like, I see that there's like 12 people watching. So I would love for you to ask me a question. I know I can see the names of some of you, so I know you've known me for a long time. So please jump in and ask me anything. It can be serious, it can be silly, as long as it doesn't have to do with someone else's information. Like, I'm not going to out someone else or talk about someone else's feelings, but if it pertains to me and anything in my life, I'm an open book right now, and it looks like I have people texting me questions as well, which is totally fine. If you have my number, then go ahead. One of the quotes that I really love lately that I'm seeing all over Instagram, and I think I saw Tom Holland say it, surprise, surprise, I follow Tom Holland, is that he says, if you know me well enough, if you have a problem with me and you know me well enough, you can text me or call me. If you don't have my number, you don't know me well enough to have a problem with me. And I'm sure I kind of mixed that up a little bit, but I really love that because I think we often get caught up in, especially with social media being as big as it is, with who likes me, who has an issue with me, what's going on, and you internalize that. At least I have my whole existence of the last like 20 years of my life, because I have worked in situations where I'm being paid to care about what other people think of me. That is my job, to care about what I project, to care about what you like, so that I can then present what you like, so that I can get paid to keep my job because I know what you like. I know that's a crazy, weird thing, but going into a meeting every single day and saying, what does the world like right now? What does the community like right now? How does Val fit in to what people like right now? And so then if you do that every day, how do I know that I like the color blue? Do I like it because I've been told I need to like it, and now I've been telling that story enough that I like the color blue that now I like it? Or do I authentically like the color blue? That's just an example. Blue is fine, but I'm more of a black, red, or teal person. And so, I mean, I don't know. Does that resonate with anyone? It's been just a little bit of, like, if this is how hard it is for me, and I have just this little mediocre, like, stardom locally, because of being on radio and TV, like, how is it for, like, people that have millions of people following them? Like, how do they, like, set those boundaries to understand that you live in 2 separate worlds, sometimes 3, depending on your life? And how do you stay safe in the one that is you? And I didn't set myself up for success when I first got put in the public eye. I didn't. I didn't think about any of these things. I just jumped. I jumped. And so now when I'm over calculating and I'm thinking about, why is this person talking to me? Why does this person like me? What does that person want from me? It's because I am a little bit scared. And I never used to be afraid of anything. It's such a new feeling to be afraid of like my own decision making, because I don't trust myself anymore. And that never, I mean, if you've known me, if you knew me before 10 years ago, even before that, like if you met me in 2012, I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's 10 years ago because it's 2023. We're doing math really late at night for me. Like I wasn't afraid of anything. I was confident about everything, except for when I went home. And that's a whole different subject. And we're not going to get into my first marriage tonight. But yeah, I second guess a lot of things, and I never used to second guess myself. I had more confidence in me than I think anybody had confidence in me. Like I knew what I was good at. I knew what decisions I wanted to make. I jumped headfirst, and I was the most successful between the ages of 28 and 38. I'm what you call a peak too sooner. I peaked at a very young age. And what do you do when that capsule of time and that success no longer reflects where you're at anymore? And you don't have to do any of those things that you used to do. So now what do you do? And who do you trust? And what if you only know people from that time period and they expect this thing from you? They expect you to have clean language and not swear. They don't expect you to get tattoos on your head, and they don't expect you to talk back and, speak up. All right, we have a question from Peter. Peter, I appreciate you. He says, do you identify with people you feel emotionally safe no matter what, and with those you do not? Do you have a boundary about this? So do I identify with people that I feel emotionally safe with, no matter what, with, and those you do not? I'm trying to understand the question. Do you have a boundary? So the thing about me and identifying myself with people is, and I think this is the kind of, I wouldn't say conceited side of me, but there's a side of me that feels like I have never seen myself in someone else. I have never felt like I have identified with really anybody. There are things that I have in common with people. And I look very similar to a lot of people because I get that all the time. But the people that I feel safe with, emotionally safe with, they don't come from the same world as me. I'm thinking that's what you're asking me. When I first started dating again after my marriage, I set a boundary that I wasn't going to date anyone that I knew, because I knew so many people from the nerd community when I was the director of FantasyCon and then Wizarding Days, that I felt like there was a lot of those people who were only my friends because of what I did and not because of who I am or who I was. So I just said, I'm not dating anybody who knows me. And so I made sure that I dated people that were not from Utah or just recently moved here or were not from the same community, had never listened to the radio station. And I actually got backlash from people. Guys would message me on Facebook or Instagram and say, hey, Val, like, are you dating yet? I would really like to take you out. And I like knew these people, like was acquaintances with them. And I'm sure they're nice or whatever, but I just said, hey, like, I really appreciate that. I'm flattered. But I've actually like put a rule out right now that I'm not going to date anyone that I know. And like I had 2 or 3 guys very angry that I had set that boundary. And that was kind of crazy to me. I mean, it made my point. Like, to not trust the people that I had allowed in my circle because I don't know what they want from me. I don't know if they want their 15 minutes with Val on the radio to say, oh yeah, so Val, I went on a date with her. I did so-and-so or what and what with Val, and then I don't see them again. And so, yeah, I mean, the people now that I feel emotionally safe with don't have anything in common with my life or my former life. They don't want anything from me except for just to be my friend. And I'm pretty sure, actually, I'm very sure that I pushed a lot of people away when I was going through my divorce because I needed that time. And there are some people that I wish would come back. But I set a huge boundary when I was going through my divorce that all the time that I spent not at work was going to be either on myself or with my child. Because I just I could not deal with anything else. I was dealing with what I would say one of the biggest devastations of my life, and that was my husband leaving me. 2 weeks before he left me, I attempted suicide, not because he was leaving me, but because of something else that I'll also get into that I don't know that I've shared publicly before. And I didn't even tell my ex-husband that I had done that until about a month and a half later because I didn't want him to stay with me because he felt guilty that I did that. And I didn't tell my daughter because I was ashamed of it. I didn't tell my family because I was ashamed of it. But my morning show partner, Mike, was like, you need to share this with people. And so I told my daughter, which was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And then I went on the air and I told my story about almost committing suicide. And I had people calling and emailing and texting about like that they had gone through a similar thing and that they never wanted to tell anyone. And then I had some people really angry that were in my close circles that were angry that I didn't tell them before I told the world. And I'm like, this is not your story. This is my story, and I can tell it however I want. But of course I felt guilty and I felt shame. And, so the people that I trust, like Mike Parsons, who like, he was basically, I was forced on him for 8 years to be with him every morning. And if he tells me something, I know it's the truth. Like I trust him 100%. If he called me and needed something right now, I would make sure he got it. But I know he doesn't want anything from me that is superficial. Like he did ask me if he could borrow some camera equipment for an event this weekend. And I, of course, like I said, sure, let's figure it out. I have to get on a plane in a couple of hours, but let's find it, come over, grab it. You can use it. And we don't talk very often anymore, but when we do talk, like we know, he was my support system through a lot of tough times, but I trust him emotionally. He probably has seen me go through every emotion more than I think anybody that knows me. I think even Dave, he's seen me through some of the best times of my life and the worst time of my life. And he never judged me for it, and I trust Dave, but I'm learning how to have a healthy relationship with someone that loves me and to not question that. But I do feel safe with him. I think there's always going to be some things that I don't share with him about some things that have happened in my past, but I don't know if that's a trust thing or just that I don't feel like the people that you love the most need to feel the things that are the most painful to you. They shouldn't have to deal with that. I don't even want to deal with it. I feel safe with my daughter. I I think I would tell my daughter anything, whether she wants to hear it or not. Sometimes she says that I treat her more like a friend than I do a mom, but I feel like there is a happy medium there that I've been trying to do over the years because my mom, I love her very much and I miss her very much, but she didn't share things with me because that's not what moms did when she was growing up. You know, you didn't confide in your kids and you didn't tell them about certain things or have certain conversations. And I just didn't want that. I don't want that for my kid. I feel very safe with you, Peter. Like we don't talk very often, but we've known each other for a long time. And I know that if I was to call you and tell you that I needed to talk to you, that I could tell you something and you're not going to go off and share that information with anyone. I don't know. Am I getting any of this right from your question? I used to have a lot of boundaries. I used to not share anything on social media that wasn't pretty. When I worked for Disney, of course, you need to make sure that things are pretty all the time. There are rules. You cannot share, cannot have bad language. You can't show pictures of yourself drinking, like all of these things. I knew that going in, and I have no issue with that. And then when I went to the radio station, I also needed to be careful. I still need to be careful because I am on TV and I do want to represent that entity very well. And I like what I do there. I don't want to be asked to leave, but I've been opening up more and moving my boundary, like giving more space to my boundaries, I guess. But yeah, I think boundaries are super important, excuse me. And if I don't feel physically safe or emotionally safe with you, you're going to know because I'm not going to say anything. I'm a talker. And if I sit around you and I don't talk to you and we're in like a public space, and that's kind of tricky because I also am very quiet around people that I trust because I feel like they don't need me to talk. So if I can sit in a car with you for like 5 hours and not say anything, it means I really like you as well. So it's like, I'm not going to give you a hard time. I'm not going to check up on you. If I don't trust you, you're going to get the bare minimum from me, and I'm not going to share those things. So I don't know if I answered that question or not, but I didn't quite understand the first part as much as I think I should. But I think the biggest thing is, do you identify with people that you feel emotionally safe with? I don't know who I identify with right now. Like I can tell you my likes and dislikes. I can tell you some preferences. I can tell you that I'm going to be reviewing a movie coming out next Friday called Fair Play. And I'm not getting paid by these people at all. But it is probably the most seen that I have ever felt on the screen before. You know, everybody says that like being able to see yourself in a character, representation is super important. I watch so many movies and I have since I was little. And I have never watched a movie that I have felt represents who I am. Yeah, sure, there's been girls with brown hair. There's been white girls with brown hair. They're, you know, like that's not represent, you know, color of your skin and the color of your hair is important in certain situations. But in my situation, I have never felt like I've seen myself on TV or on the big screen. And when I watched this movie, of course, I look nothing like the girl that plays the main character in Bridgerton. Maybe at one point I was very close when I was younger. But everything that happened in that movie, almost everything, there was a few things that didn't, but almost everything that happened in this movie has happened to me, either emotionally, romantically, in a business or career setting. Like it was like I was watching it and I thought like, has someone taken everything from my brain and made a movie out of it? That's how close these things were. And there were some conversations in this movie that were almost word to word, like a conversation that I've had with someone else, like to the point where I started laughing out loud, like in a hysteric manner. And it's just me and Dave and like 4 other male film critics. And they probably thought I was losing it, but I just couldn't take it. I was like, what the heck is going on? I have been in this situation exactly. I identify so much with what is happening, but I've never met another woman that I have identified with. I am more closer to a masculine identifier. But to me, it's like, and I'm going to say this, and I've never said this out loud before. So I would consider myself pansexual. Whereas if I have a connection with you, it doesn't matter what sexual orientation you are. If I have a connection, I have a connection. And that doesn't mean like a sexual connection. It just means in general a connection with you. And most of the time I don't have connections with people that are close to who I am, because I'm so interested in people that are so different from me. It's just I'm so curious, and I'm so interested in like learning and seeing things from other people's perspectives. And if I meet you and I automatically like something clicks and I just can have a conversation with you forever, like that's a connection I want to hold on to. But again, I don't know if I answered your question, Peter. If you're still listening, I can still see that there's like now about 20 people on. And I know I'm messing with my hair, but that's what I do. So I don't know. Let me know if that was right or not. I don't know if I got the gist of your question. But yeah, unfortunately, I think I'm like a lot of people, and I kind of feel like I'm a square peg trying to fit in a round hole. And I think that's very common, where you kind of feel like you don't relate to anyone. And so then you try and figure out how to be relatable so that you can kind of fit, so that you can kind of be involved, so you can have some friends. But then you go home and you still feel alone. Like I have felt alone in a room full of thousands of people that were all there to see me. I have felt alone. I have felt alone sitting at family gatherings. I've just never like seen or met someone, and have never identified with them. Have I thought we have things in common? Sure. Like we're relatable things. Yes. And with those people, I do try and make that connection and try and build that trust. But it's still very difficult for me to build trust with people that I make a connection with. Because like many people, I have been burnt so bad by people that I've helped with their career, people that I have brought into circles of friends to be friends, people that I've had, relationships with. Everybody goes through that. So yeah, I'm dealing with that right now. But yeah, so I was hoping that one of my surprise guests was going to be able to pop on, but he is also in a different state right now and getting ready to go on stage to do something else. So hopefully he'll be able to pop on to the next one. I have been talking for almost an hour. So if there are any questions related to anything that I talked about tonight that you want to ask right now, I will be talking more about traveling and my depression and relationships. I guess not depression, because that's, I'm told I don't have depression, but my bipolar next time as well. But also some like fun things. I do have some fun questions that people asked that are kind of juicy, and I have to see how I can situate spilling the tea on some of these things and not getting in trouble for it. I'm in Portland right now. I'm here until Monday, so I probably won't do another episode like this until probably Tuesday or Thursday night of next week. So we will see how I'm feeling. If I'm doing really well at the event and I decide to do like a weekend one, then just like stay close. It will be on my YouTube channel. There will be like a little alert there, so make sure you subscribe to that. Or it will be on Seemingly Appropriate podcast on Facebook, or my personal page on Facebook. But yeah, if there are any other questions, let me know. I don't know. I feel better sharing and knowing that, you know, the 12 to 20 people are listening. I know a lot of people want like the thousands. That's not the goal of this. The goal of this is if I say it out loud, I can work through it, and then maybe I can get closer to where I need to be. But then also I scroll through and try and find things that other people are going through that can also give me some information, some knowledge to get through the situations I'm going through. So, and I just hope that it helps somebody. If me saying this out loud makes one person not feel alone, then that's all I want, because I have felt and do feel alone a lot. When you're going through something like bipolar, PTSD, and trauma, which is what I have been diagnosed with, I feel alone a lot, even when I'm with the people that I love. And I don't even know how to explain like the feeling. And I've been on medication now for 38 days. We upped my dosage yesterday. And so it's just kind of this practicing medicine and like seeing if it works out. And this time next year, you know, we could be having a totally different conversation. I mean, I know we will, because you're not ever the same person from year to year, sometimes week to week. So I hope everybody has a good night. Be safe. And again, if you are watching this and it's not live and you have a question, you can go ahead and email it to me. The email is in this chat, but it's also Miss MS Valerie, Valerie, Cameron, Cameron at gmail.com. You can go back to my YouTube page and watch, I guess, my coming out video of being bipolar, because I totally had a dick reaction to it. Because I thought I'd been an advocate for mental illness for years and years. And then when I found out that I was bipolar, I kind of was a jerk about it. So you can go and watch that and give me any comments you want on that. And then, yeah, just email me any questions or hop on when I go live again. And please ask. Like, I know I'm opening up a can of worms, but I also know that I've pushed so many people away over the past 5 years that, you know, maybe those questions that people wanted to ask me 5 years ago, they don't care anymore. And I get that as well. But I'm still here and I still want to talk, and it can be something about you. And I'd be happy to give you my opinion, and we can talk about what you're going through. I would love that. So have a good night, and I will chat with all of you soon. Thanks, everybody.